Part 25. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 241. Chapter 241, 241, One penny stumps the heroic man. The news has been notified. Next, we will recruit suitable cultivators from various departments to fill our department. There will be an interview at that time. When the time is set, the superiors will notify you. Su Qiuqing knew about this matter. A little more, when Shen Yun said this, he gave the answer. Okay, I'm still thinking about how we will get our manpower. Since we have reliable ones, of course it would be better. Shen Yun nodded. 3 days passed by in a blink of an eye, and the discussion was finally over. The meeting place returned to the quiet scene of the first day, with a little more discussion, but everyone was restrained and not as unrestrained as the seminar. A total of 203 articles were passed this time, and strict regulations were made on all aspects of cultivators. The first article is that you cannot hurt others at will. These will be printed into a book and then notified to the localities through newspapers and various channels. Even people who did not come this time will also ask to know these things. In addition, for practitioners, it will also be reflected on their ID cards in the future. Of course there are good things, such as work and other aspects. After the meeting, there will be a communication session. If anyone has any cultivation experience, they can come up to the stage to share it. It was a lot more lively than before. Some people came up to talk about their cultivation experiences, and some came up to demonstrate their own cultivation techniques. The whole place was very lively for a while. Shen Yun and the others were watching from the side so that people wouldn't do anything wrong, and they didn't need to worry about anything else. It is no secret that so many cultivators gathered here. When the meeting ended, a recruitment sign was put up not far from the house. The people in each company are very good. In the past, everyone would come to the door to find a job, but now it is better. The recruiters opposite are as enthusiastic as if they are trying to sell something. What do you think they are recruiting these cultivators for? Shen Yun was a little confused. Now that cultivators are becoming popular in the talent market, electrical appliance factories, pharmaceutical factories, and clothing factories are recruiting these people for their majors. Not very relatable. Who knows, maybe it's like what was said in the novel. It would be good to ask someone to go back and be a protector. After all, there will be more cultivators in the future and there will be more things to do. It might become a popular trend to invite a few cultivators to take charge. Jiang Min stood nearby and looked confused. As soon as he said this, Shen Yun felt that it meant something like this. These people are very keen now that the country has issued so many regulations. We are not afraid to invite these cultivators back to be uncles. After all, they will be under control in the future, Su Qiuqing said with a smile. The content discussed at this meeting is not a secret. These provisions will be issued later. It is understandable for these people to get a little information in advance. Would you like to come around? Jiang Min invited as he looked at the lively scene. I won't go. My 2 brothers are here and waiting for me over there. I'll go take a look. Shen Yun pointed to the 2 people waiting next to him and declined with a smile. Okay, there's someone at home. You go and accompany me. I'll go take a look around. You can do it yourself. Jiang Min's temperament is a bit more out of the box. This time, it looks like it's so lively here. Just like in the city, it was already off work anyway, so I no longer stood by to accompany him. After saying hello, I blended into the crowd. Shen Yun heard people greeting him one by one. This guy was quite powerful. In just a few days, everyone below him knew him. After speaking to the person next to him who hadn't walked away, Shen Yun also walked towards the 2 Shen brothers. We are going to look at the work here, what do you think? The 2 of them looked at Shen Yun coming over and asked for Shen Yun's opinion. I think the main task now is to improve your own strength. As for making money, as long as your strength improves, money is not a problem. I have many ways to make money here. The main thing is that I don't have the time right now. If you want to make money, if you don't have enough money, why don't you stay in Beijing and learn the craft from me? Shen Yun doesn't recommend that they go into the factory now. Having learned how to make alchemy, weapon refining, formations, and talismans, eating will not be a problem, and this will not delay the improvement of strength. The main thing is that I don't have any money in my pocket now, so I can't eat and drink your food every day. Shen Hong waved his hand, and it was really a penny that stumped the heroic man. My brothers and sisters are still so open to outsiders. Shen Yun waved his hands. He basically had nothing to spend money on now, so he didn't mind spending some money on them. Then the two of us will shamelessly eat and drink together for a while. Shen Hong finally made a decision. You're talking about eating and drinking, you can still kick me out when I need you in the future, Shen Yun said with a smile. That's definitely not the case, the two people said quickly. Isn't it done? In this case, let's go back first and see what you learn when we get back. Shen Yun turned around and planned to take the two people away from this place. From a distance, I saw two brothers from the Ji family walking over. Didn't these two people go back? Why are they back again? Shen Yun was slandering in his heart, but still walked forward without looking away. Yun Yun, I didn't believe it when Ji Jin said he met you a few days ago. I didn't expect to meet you here. I didn't dare to disturb you in the meeting these 2 days. How about I give my brother some face and let's meet you tonight? Let's have a meal. The two brothers from the Ji family blocked Shen Yun's way. Ji Jin didn't speak this time, but Ji Ming spoke. Sorry, I have something to do tonight. Shen Yun didn't want to give this face, and she didn't want to have anything to do with the Ji family at all. You're not angry that my brother hasn't visited you for so long, are you? I've heard about you leaving home a long time ago, but I haven't had any vacation time this year, and I haven't had the chance to see you. It's just in time for this meeting. I won't be back until the team takes a few days off. If I don't see you here, I'm going to go to your house to find you. My sister who grew up together, I can't do this. Don't care anymore. Ji Ming said seriously. To be honest, this cousin didn't like to talk much before, and the two of them were 7 or 8 years apart and basically didn't play together. Shen Yun really didn't expect that he would come over and say such a thing. Thinking about it, he had never seen him before in his previous life. In terms of this person's appearance, Shen Yun didn't know whether he was good at acting or if he really didn't know about this matter. I'm not a stingy person. Unless something related to life can be remembered for a lifetime, I really don't have so much time to care about other things. I don't care if you have known it for a long time or only now. Since life has returned to on the right track, then don't have anything to do with the past, lest Ji Momo feel hatred towards me again. This doesn't have any impact on me, but if you hurt her, you'll come here to make trouble again. Shen Yun said it very coldly. She really doesn't care about people like the Ji family anymore. The research office has been overthrown by her. Now her first goal is to practice until the day she can no longer practice. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 242. Chapter 242, 242, I have something to do now, so I won't accompany you. How come this is not related to life? The Ji family has raised you so big for so many years, and this is giving you a life, Ji Jin said with an ugly face. Oh, then according to what you said, one life is for another. My parents raised your sister, and your family raised me. It's even. Since my parents never curry favor with Ji Momo, let her be in peace. Live quietly in the Ji family, I hope you can do the same. Shen Yun glanced at Ji Jin with an unclear expression. He used to think that this brother was quite calm, but why did he behave like Ji Shen when things happened? They are spoiled inside. Could it be that the Ji family raised him, but they didn't raise Ji Momo? How can you calculate like this? What kind of life does our family give you, and what kind of life does your family give Momo? My family trained you and went to college, but what kind of life does your family give Momo? Ji Jin now thinks about GMO. Mo was very dissatisfied, but he blamed the Shen family for this. If the Shen family hadn't properly trained Ji Momo, he wouldn't be so shallow and embarrassed now. What kind of life does our family give Ji Momo? Anyway, our family has tried its best to train her. None of the boys in our family can go to school. If she wants to go to my family, she will still be allowed to go to school. Even if her grades are not good, we will. Qigong went to high school. Although the food and drink conditions at home were not good, the best was given to her. Our Shen family values girls over boys. As for your family, looking at you, it seems that life in your family was not that good before. Shen Hung, who had listened for a long time, interrupted angrily. Although his family was poor, he couldn't say that he treated Momo badly. That was really in the palm of his hand. Although Ji Momo's selfish temper is really not lovable. Who are you? I'm talking to her, why are you interrupting? Ji Jin became angry and said in a very aggressive tone. Ji Jin, pay attention to your identity and attitude. Ji Ming saw Ji Jin quarreling with unrelated people and immediately frowned. I wonder what the purpose of coming here today is. Can Shen Yun be elected as a supervisor? Together with those proud people of heaven, it proves that this person is not simple. She has been away from her home for such a long time, and she has climbed into some kind of influence. Seeing that she has a good relationship with several other people, it doesn't seem like she is. Clinging to a few people proved that Shen Yun himself was not simple. Now the Ji family is trying to take a step forward. The cultivation talents of the few of them are not very high, and their own conditions are not enough. If they can ease the relationship with Shen Yun, everything will be easier to handle. I didn't expect that Ji Jin would be so unreliable at the critical moment. He was really like Ji Shen, spoiled by his second aunt. He is such an old man and his temper is still so unstable. It seems that he should talk to his grandfather when he goes back. Look. Can you move him somewhere else? Otherwise, his mouth will cause trouble for the family sooner or later. Big brother. Okay, don't say anything. I know you were unhappy about the bad attitude towards you last time, but you have to reflect on it yourself. You can't implicate innocent people just because you're upset. The two brothers are sorry. I heard you mean Yunyun's brother, right? It's our fault for this matter. We haven't come to visit you. The two children have gotten into trouble. This is something no one wants to see, but to be honest, Yunyun, they are so old, even if they are exchanged now, our two families can still get along as relatives. This incident had a greater impact on my second aunt, and we never found the time to go over it, which was really rude. Ji Ming spoke very sincerely. As for what he was thinking, it was hard to tell from his face. It's not necessary to be relatives. You probably didn't ask your family when you came here. They were not idle this year when you were not at home. You'd better go back and ask before you come to talk to me. I don't want to be with someone who wants to. I will marry someone who is older than my father as a relative. Shen Yun was not touched by Ji Ming's words and said without giving any face. Yunyun, are you telling the truth? Who did this? It's too much. Even if our family is a little poorer, we can't be so insulting. Shen Hung and Shen Hong, who were only a little angry at first, heard Shen Yun say this. He said that he almost exploded with anger. Everyone in his family thought that Shen Yun was studying in Beijing and would be fine. Who knew that he would encounter such a thing here? There is nothing more extreme than this. After raising him for more than 10 years, this is just throw it away. The two people on the side heard what Shen Yun said and looked at each other. They had never heard this matter mentioned by anyone in their family. So, after living as a family for more than 10 years, you must know that there must be a misunderstanding in this matter. Don't worry, I will figure it out. Ji Ming frowned tightly, but kept saying this in his mouth. It must have turned out to be a misunderstanding. Then come to me after you go back and figure it out. I still have something to do now, so I won't accompany you. Third brother, fourth brother, let's go. After Chen Yun finished speaking, he called to the two people around him to continue walking forward. What kind of relationship does Shen Yun have with the Ji family? Even Ji Ming is here. Yan Han and the others watched the whole process on the side. When they saw people leaving, Su Qiuqing asked Yan Han curiously. Anyway, the relationship is very complicated. If you want to know, you can go back and check the files. Yan Han has no habit of revealing other people's privacy. As you said, the confidentiality level of Shen Yun's files is not something that we can see. Anyway, I used to dislike this guy Ji Ming. He always looked very reasonable. The two brothers came to see a little girl is not ashamed. Liang Shan murmured next to him. Okay, I can't do anything if I don't like you. Anyway, I didn't commit any crime. But let me remind you, this little girl Shen Yun can beat up four of us. Yan Han reminded him and stopped staying where he was. Walk directly towards the distance. Su Qiuqing, do you know this? Liang Shan really didn't know what Shen Yun's strength was. I've heard a little bit about it, but it's quite powerful anyway. I don't know the specific details of Su Qiuqing, and he's not at the same level yet. I've only heard about it. My dear, why can't I see through this girl's cultivation? It turns out she is much higher than us. That's great, I like it like this, Liang Shan said excitedly. Let me remind you, you two are both supervisors. It is impossible to develop any other relationship. Besides, you are almost 30 this year, so don't make any ideas. Su Qiuqing has known Liang Shan since he was a child. Both of them are in the compound. The children have been in a healthy competitive relationship since they were young. When they heard Liang Shan's unreliable words, they couldn't help but give him a reminder. Look at what you're talking about, Lao Su, am I such a person? I mean, I admire people who are stronger than me. Looking at the behavior of the Ji brothers, maybe Shen Yun needs one more brother. Then whoever bullies my sister, even if I don't care, my old man won't, Liang Shan said seriously. Then you go and ask if they are willing. I'll leave first. Su Qiuqing didn't want to chat with Liang Shan. He might as well go home and practice while he was busy. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 243. Chapter 243, 243, Special Spiritual Power Fluctuations. Shen Yun didn't know the conversation between several people here, so he dismissed the two brothers from the Ji family, and the three of them walked directly towards home. Yun Yun, how was your life at Ji's house before? Shen Hong hesitated before asking this question. It's pretty good. There's no shortage of food and drink, Shen Yun replied calmly. Now that the living conditions are better, our family has not been able to eat and drink in these years. This family is not just about food and drink. Shen Hong felt a little uncomfortable while listening. Okay, it's all in the past. If you can't stand it, then be nice to me, Shen Yun said with a smile. The two people nodded silently when they heard this. When they got home, the two of them started working together, and then directly prepared a few dishes without Shen Yun's help. Although I know you don't eat much, we made it specially for you today, so you can give me a reward, Shen Hong said with a smile. Okay, let's eat and then talk about other things, Shen Yun also agreed. The two of them were extremely enthusiastic about the meal, and Shen Yun managed to eat it all. The three of them packed up and went straight to the small yard for a walk. Do you have any plans for the future? Shen Yun asked the two people around him. What are your plans? I used to think about working hard to make money, and then see if I could be a boss. But when I came home, I found that my dad and the others made more money from the dry goods business than we did from working. Now we have figured it out. That's the most important thing, Shen Hong said with a wry smile. He originally wanted to work hard outside, but he didn't know that he encountered the Lingxi mine incident later, and Shen Jian also got into trouble because of this incident. At that time, they felt that money was not important. The most important thing is your own strength. Where is the third brother? I just want to rescue Shen Jian, that's what I'm thinking now. Shen Hong's goal is simple. Okay, anyway, our goal now is to improve our own strength. So, do you want to learn other things, such as alchemy, weapon refining, formations and talismans? Shen Yun said, looking at the two people. Most of the knowledge of cultivation between the two of them was taught by Shen Yun. Although they heard a lot of experiences and information from other practitioners on the way from home to the capital, everyone was just trying to figure it out, and no one really knew how to do this thing. So when they heard some unfamiliar words in Shen Yun's mouth, both of them were a little confused. Let me tell you too what these are. Shen Yun looked at the confused look of the two of them and did not intend to let them choose. Instead, he introduced them to them first and gave them what he had on hand. The things were shown to two people. The eyes of the two people watching became brighter and brighter. Why, now you all know what these are for. As long as you choose one of them, or if you have enough energy, you can choose a few. From now on, life will not be a problem. Don't talk about money, you can get your spiritual stones back. Shen Yun looked at the two people and said, I want to choose alchemy. Shen Hong decided quickly. After Shen Yun finished speaking, he gave the answer. Okay, we can try your alchemy qualifications later. Shen Yun nodded. This was also her first time teaching students to learn these things. Those at the Alchemy Research Institute did not need her to consider their qualifications, she just had to teach them. But the future direction of your own family must be chosen carefully. After all, there is no support from the country behind it. What about me? Can I refine weapons? From now on, the swords used at home will belong to me. Shen Hong saw that Shen Hong had made up his mind about his future. After careful consideration, he also confirmed his own thoughts with Shen Yun. Okay, let's go to the room and try it. Shen Yun turned around and walked towards the room. She didn't have any ink either, so she just took out the things and made them for the two of them. Let Shen Hong refine a jade tablet for jade slips. This does not require any skills. It only needs to be burned steadily with fire. It does not require strong spiritual consciousness. The spiritual consciousness that Shen Hong has just trained is enough for now. As for Shen Hong, Shen Yun got a psychic grass, which is a kind of herb used to refine peach blossom frost neutralizer. It is also very easy to refine. The two people received the tasks assigned by Shen Yun and did not go back to the room. They directly occupied a side of the living room and began to work. Shen Yun sat nearby and watched, lest the two people burn down the house again. While the two people were busy, Shen Yun felt a special spiritual power fluctuation outside. The moment he felt it, Shen Yun stood up directly and said, Brother, you practice at home and usually use your spiritual sense. If something happens outside, I will go over and take a look. After Shen Yun finished speaking, he was already outside the door. There was no trace of ink when he went out. He flew directly with his sword towards the place where there was movement in the southwest of Beijing. At the same time, other people also felt a wave, and those who could move were moving towards came here. Shen Yun was the first to approach. She stopped in mid-air without taking another step forward. A sky-reaching light curtain rose in the forest in front of her. Thick spiritual mist floated upward and then dissipated in the air. Shen Yun stopped at this place and felt the dense spiritual energy drilling into his body along his skin without any need to practice. Shen Yun knew this place. In his previous life, This was the largest spiritual eye that appeared after the spiritual energy was revived. However, the time of appearance was not now. Shen Yun remembered that it was 6 years later. Unexpectedly, the spiritual energy recovery was earlier than the time when this spiritual energy eye appeared. Also ahead of schedule. Shen Yun took a deep breath of spiritual energy and looked at the huge light curtain. The density and stability of the light curtain were still very good. No wonder Shen Yun was nervous. He remembered that in his previous life, the light curtain slowly became thinner as time went by. People originally thought that there was spiritual energy inside, but they didn't know that as the light curtain became thinner, the things that were not clearly visible inside gradually became thinner. Appeared. There is a secret realm inside, and it is a secret realm with many spiritual beasts and monsters. Anyway, before Shen Yun was taken into the research institute, none of the things inside had escaped. I don't know how long this light curtain can last in this life. Shen Yun circled around the light curtain from a distance. This aura eye was bigger than the one he saw last time, and gave people a gentler feeling. But who knew there were so many dangers hidden in it? After observing, Shen Yun did not continue to stay high in the sky. He fell directly and stopped not far from the light curtain. This place is a mountain forest. Shen Yun came here the fastest. There is no one else in this place yet. Recalling the news from his previous life that one can feel the richest spiritual energy when approaching the light curtain, Shen Yun tried it and walked over. Sure enough, the closer he got to the light curtain, the richer the spiritual energy became. This light curtain is the barrier of the secret realm. Shen Yun is not afraid that he will be let in. He carefully lies on the light curtain and looks at the glow formed by the spiritual energy inside. This light curtain is really magical. It looks fake but feels real when touched. But it is real. Hearing the chirping sound of the little Banky in his mind, he probably felt the strong spiritual energy through himself, and wanted to come out to join in the fun. There was no one around, so Shen Yun directly brought the little Banky out. The moment the little jumper appeared on his shoulder, Shen Yun felt that his body leaning against the light screen fell directly backward. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 244. Chapter 244, 244, The First Cry of the Phoenix. Turned around to stabilize his body, and the scene in front of him had changed drastically. Originally, he was next to the light curtain, with a dense forest behind him, but now it turned into a vast grassland in front of him. What's going on? Shen Yun didn't forget to turn around and look behind him when he was surprised. What caught his eyelids was a curtain of light. Didn't you say that this light curtain can't come in at all? What's going on now? I just saw the glow, and why did I suddenly run inside from the outside? Shen Yun complained irritably in his heart. The little one on the shoulder adapted well to this place. He felt like he was in a good mood and screamed loudly. "Shh, don't scream. Although you are a phoenix, the aura of this place is so rich. Who knows if there are monsters and beasts that are more powerful than us. Let's keep a low profile and try to see if we can get out first." Shen Yun touched the fur of Xiaobeng Qiao, turned around and walked towards the light curtain. He was obviously right in front of him, but after taking several steps, Shen Yun still found the distance between the light curtain and himself so far. What's going on? Shen Yun muttered, and took a few steps forward without giving up, but the result was still like this. After thinking about it, he took out Qingfeng and quickly stepped on the sword towards the light curtain, trying to get closer to it unprepared, but he didn't know that the result would still be the same. Shen Yun held his sword and stood still. This is to prevent me from going out, right? Okay, then I'll walk around here to see what's there. Anyway, I have enough spiritual energy, so I won't starve to death. After Shen Yun finished speaking angrily, he turned around and walked towards the grass in front of him. The little jumper was no longer standing on his shoulders, but was jumping happily in front. He looked much more lively than outside. It's a little less cold outside. Chen Yun reflected for a moment and thought that he might have been anxious to lock it in the space during this period. Although the space was large, there really weren't many things in it. He probably had seen enough in it, so Chen Yunhui didn't stop the other party's movements. Anyway, the two of them had already signed a contract. If they were in danger, Shen Yun could just go back to the space with the thought. Shen Yun does not think that she is invincible in this world. The Ghost King who appeared earlier proves that there is something more powerful than her in this world. Holding the Qingfeng sword, he walked forward carefully. There were some beautiful flowers growing on the grass. Shen Yun had seen them in the Encyclopedia of Spiritual Plants. This was a relatively common spiritual plant, but he didn't have the space, so Shen Yun didn't put it. However, I selected some old ones and dug them up directly, and then planted some in the space. When the space returns to the grandeur of my ancestors, I will no longer have to worry about spiritual plants for alchemy in the future. After working for a while, Shen Yun continued to follow the direction of the little jumper. She couldn't tell the direction of the wind in this secret realm. Shen Yun didn't know what was inside. She took out a blank jade slip from the space and started. Record the terrain and things encountered here. After passing through this grassland, there is a big river, a rushing river, and some fish occasionally jump in it. Looking at it, you can tell that it is not simple. Shen Yun's consciousness moved, and the record of strange beasts that he had read as a story in the space appeared directly in his hand. Looking through it carefully, I saw the appearance of the fish that just appeared. This fish is called silver snowfish. It has a snow-white body, small scales, a pair of wings on its body, and a small horn on its head. It can jump out of the water and fly. Its meat is tender and delicate, and it has abundant spiritual energy. It is a rare spiritual species. Beast. It doesn't have any special effects, it's just delicious, so the records say that this kind of thing has basically disappeared. Shen Yun really didn't expect to see this in this place. Looking at the swarms of fish under the water, Shen Yun suddenly felt that his foodie cells, which had not been active for a long time, started to move. Shen Yun acted on the principle that everyone who saw something was welcome, so he took out the net from his own space without being polite, enlarged the net, and threw it toward the water. When he felt that it was almost done, he fished the net back up. Silver-white fragments of light moved toward the shore as the net moved. The harvest was quite good. It is estimated that hundreds of fish were caught in this net. It seems that the fish that were originally rare have multiplied in this secret realm over the years. Shen Yun did not let go of the net. The fish had wings. If he let go of the net, it would fly away. Draged these fish directly into the space. Looking at the Lingquan River in the space, Shen Yun wanted to put the fish in so that he could eat whatever he wanted in the future. Unexpectedly, as soon as the net was opened, the little jumper rushed over, with his little pointed mouth. I saw the small horn on the head of the silver snowfish disappear. The silver snowfish, which was originally alive and well, immediately lost its movement. Little Bangchi, aren't you a vegetarian? Will eating this meaty food hurt your stomach? Shen Yun nervously picked up the little Bangchi. It seemed that the child was really hungry and would eat everything. Xiao Banqi ignored Chen Yun's nervousness and chirped a few times, then rushed over and pecked a few silver snowfish horns before stopping. Shen Yun saw that it was fine after eating so much, and felt relieved. It seemed that the ancient books still recorded too little about the eating habits of the phoenix. It was an omnivorous bird. Little Banqi, if you want to eat, let's go out to eat. Keep the ones here first. Later, you will have endless snowfish to eat, Chen Yun told Xiao Banqi, and let all the living fish go. After entering the water, Shen Yun tried to eat the few ones that had just been pecked by the little jumper. After the simple roast was finished, Shen Yun took a bite and realized that the recorded content was indeed very one-sided. This fish was really delicious. Shen Yun ate the whole thing in one go. After packing himself up, Shen Yun took Xiao Benqi out of the space and continued to explore the secret realm. Continue walking along the river. The water flow led to a forest in front. Shen Yun looked at the pairs of winged tigers scattered on the edge of the forest and stopped. The monsters in front of him are all monsters in the foundation building stage. Shen Yun is not sure that he can deal with so many of them by himself. Shen Yun still knows that ants kill elephants, and besides, these are not ants. Little Benqi, why don't we change the route to explore? Anyway, there are big things here. When our strength improves, we can meet these big tigers with wings, Shen Yun discussed with Xiao Benqi, who was slightly excited. Little Benqi heard what Shen Yun said, glanced at Shen Yun, and then flapped his wings hard, and a childish phoenix cry sounded in the space. Sounds clear and pleasant, without any intimidation. But the whole space seems to have been pressed on the pause button. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 245. Chapter 245, 245, is it the friendship inside the egg? Shen Yun saw those lazy, winged tigers stop their movements. At first, they didn't see anyone on their side, but they immediately turned their heads and looked over. All the laziness in their bodies disappeared, and they all stood up. Shen Yun also became nervous. Little Benqi, let's get out of the limelight. What are you doing over there? Shen Yun was still nervous at first, but in the blink of an eye, he saw the little Benqi who had just called flapping his wings towards the tiger over there. Plunge into the pile. Although they all have wings, you are not the same species as them, are you? Shen Yun chased after them anxiously. The winged tigers that were standing over there watching Shen Yun and his group vigilantly saw Shen Yun's movements and immediately roared and rushed towards them. A dozen tigers rushed towards him at the same time. This scene was the only one he had ever seen. Only then did I realize how shocking it was. Shen Yun didn't have weak legs, so he speeded up, grabbed the little jumper directly in his hand, and quickly turned around and ran in the other direction. Unexpectedly, this made the Yuhu pursue him even more fiercely. Shen Yun looked at the flying tiger, and then at the little jumping dog held in the palm of his hand, and was filled with envy. They all have wings. When will this one in my family grow up? Little Benqi, tell me what to do now. That sound you made is like poking a tiger in the butt. It's chasing us, Shen Yun said as he ran, not daring to go into the woods yet. There are so many spiritual beasts and monsters, who knows what else is in the woods, they can only run on the grass outside. The winged tiger flies even better in this place. Little Bengqiao was not nervous at all. He fluttered vigorously in Shen Yun's hand and was chirping, not to mention excited. Shen Yun turned around for a while and saw that the winged tiger behind him was still following him leisurely. He speeded up, and the one behind him also speeded up. He slowed down, and the one behind him also became leisurely, as if he was teasing himself. After discovering this situation, Shen Yun was no longer nervous. What do these winged tigers mean? Are they out for a walk after eating and drinking? Shen Yun didn't understand what it meant to chase him but not take action. Logically speaking, there are 5 or 6-year-old children at this level of monsters. IQ has increased, and the power of his golden core stage has been unleashed, but these winged tigers still chased after them without hesitation, and now they look like they are playing tricks on themselves. There must be some reason that they don't know. While Shen Yun was puzzled, Xiao Bengqiao spoke again, "Let me go, I want to fly." What followed was a series of chirps of unknown meaning. You can't even squeeze the teeth of those tigers. Are you sure you want to fly? Shen Yun looked at the little phoenix in his palm and could indeed feel it struggling in his palm. Let go and play, Little Benqi continued. Shen Yun is also an enlightened parent. Although the little Banky is furry, his ability to protect himself is beyond question. Not everyone can bear that mouthful of Phoenix true fire. He tentatively released his palms, and the crooked little jumper who had been flying just now seemed to have found a skill and flew directly up. The immature little wings were waving gently, which looked a bit like the big tiger behind him. "Hey, you're flying forward, why are you flying backward?" Shen Yun watched with relief as the little bungee flew for 2 seconds, and then he saw the little bungee flying faster and faster, turning around and flying back. Past. He immediately braked suddenly and turned around to see that the little jumper was already in front of the big tiger. Shen Yunxin lifted it up, and then he saw the little jumper jump directly onto the head of the front tiger. "Hey!" Before Shen Yun could say anything, he saw the winged tiger chasing behind him also brake suddenly. Then these big guys stopped chasing me, turned around, and flew high and low into the distance, so far away that Shen Yun could hear the excited chirping of the little jumping turtle. Shen Yun stood there a little messy in the wind. This time she couldn't tell that the little jumper seemed to know these winged tigers. Then she was really stupid. The winged tigers were flying high and low, and the little jumper was thrown away. The constant tossing back and forth all showed that these winged tigers were teasing him. Shen Yun really didn't know when they met. Could it be the friendship inside the egg? At this time, those winged ones were flying so happily that it seemed a bit redundant that Shen Yun was running around with the little jumper just now. Since Yu-Hu had no intention of harming the little Banky, Shen Yun was no longer nervous. Seeing the fun playing there, she was not idle either. She bent over and continued to dig for spiritual plants. The spiritual energy was rich here, so there were many spiritual plants. All in normal form, unlike the previous aura eyes which were all ferocious spiritual plants. After Chen Yun had dug up all kinds of spiritual plants in this area and had fun playing with the little jumper over there, Chen Yun saw the winged tiger falling from the sky and slowly walking towards him. Although it was furry, it looked like it was easy to touch, but the aura of his body made Shen Yun dare not underestimate him. Shen Yun remained on guard. "Human, did you hatch the young master?" Not far away, the big tiger stopped, and Shen Yun realized that although this winged tiger looked like it was in the foundation building stage, it had no aura of its own. He couldn't see through, and he had made a mistake. If these guys were really hostile to him, then he might not even be able to enter the space in time. Thinking of this, Shen Yun sweated in an instant, and he was still careless. Ignoring the surprise that the other party could speak, he nodded directly and said, "It's me." As soon as he finished speaking, he looked at the opponent and saw one of his front legs slowly bending down. The tiger next to him also looked like this. "What are you?" Shen Yun was a little confused by this development. "We are members of the Phoenix clan. Since you hatched our young master, you are our benefactor," the other party continued, and then slowly stood up. Only then did Shen Yun find out why the other party didn't hurt him. It turned out that it was really the friendship inside the egg. If it hadn't been for Xiao Banqi, he would probably have explained it here today. "I am also lucky to meet the little Banqi," Shen Yun said sternly, reaching out to take the little Banqi that rushed toward him, smiling and touching its upturned feathers, and then put it directly on his shoulder. "Above. No matter what, you are the benefactor of the entire Phoenix clan. We, the Winged Tiger clan, are responsible for guarding the border position and waiting for the return of the young master. The other owners have already received the news and should rush to the center immediately. If you don't mind, please come with us." The other party continued. "Even though he invited me gently, I had no conditions to refuse. The situation was stronger than others. If my little golden elixir wasn't so cute, I think the other party wouldn't notice it at all. Then let's go." Shen Yun did not refuse. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 246. Chapter 246, 246, Fenjiao. After Shen Yun nodded, he heard these winged tigers raising their heads and roaring loudly, with unconcealable excitement in their voices. Then a very large winged tiger walked directly to him and lowered his body. Please sit up, distinguished guest, we will guide you in Fenjiao. Before Shen Yun could be confused, the winged tiger spoke again. Shen Yun looked at the 4-meter-long tiger next to him, half crouching next to him, and his height had already reached his shoulders. The hair on the body is smooth and shiny, and you can tell that the food must be good. There is nothing good about him. He looks like an ordinary golden elixir cultivator with low strength. The other party should not lie to him in a big way. Although he couldn't refuse, Shen Yun still did some mental preparation for himself, and then he sat astride the back of the winged tiger. He didn't have time to sigh how good it felt, and he felt instantly lifted into the air. Very stable, better than the first time I wielded a sword. Little Benki has now moved from his shoulder to the winged tiger's head. Shen Yun looked at the ground and could only see blurry scene changes. The big tiger flew faster than his own sword. From the outside, the light screen is only so big. I didn't expect it to be so big inside. As you walk further forward, you can hear various cries, as if they are echoing the roar of the winged tiger just now. Shen Yun looked a little numb as he watched the various auras rising into the sky. When he first came in, he was still thinking about exploring the secret realm. Something was wrong and the facade entered the space. But looking at the undisguised aura, Shen Yun realized how naive his thoughts were. When he encountered no one here has a fate that they can't escape. These guys are not like Yuhu who suppresses his momentum. This unbridled momentum spread in mid-air, and Shen Yun felt it was a little difficult to breathe. Ouch, a tiger roar sounded in the air. Shen Yun felt that the pressure on his body was immediately relieved, and the momentum around him calmed down. Shen Yun breathed a sigh of relief and said to Yuhu who was calling next to him, "Thank you." With a little effort, these old guys were so happy that they forgot to restrain their momentum for a while. It was not intentional, the winged tiger explained very understandingly. Shen Yun nodded. The entry into the light curtain was unexpected, and the current development was even more unexpected. I don't know if there is anything for the phoenix to eat here. Although I hatched the little Benki, to be honest, I haven't found anything for the little Benki to eat yet. He only showed that he likes spiritual stones. I have only eaten lotus seeds. Shen Yun took the initiative to explain the situation to the other party. I don't know why, but when the other party heard what Shen Yun said, his face seemed to twist. Shen Yun wanted to take a closer look, but the other party returned to his original appearance. A phoenix cannot stop unless it is a parasol tree, it cannot eat unless it is made of solid food, and it cannot drink unless it is a spring of sweet wine. We have already made preparations here and are waiting for the young master to come back. Hearing this, Shen Yun was relieved a lot. Originally, he was planning to wait for the matter in Beijing to be settled and take Xiao Bengchuo around to see if he could find these things. Unexpectedly, he met him here and entered the light curtain. It's not like there's nothing gained. Continuing to move forward, Shen Yun felt that something was always looking this way, and the sight was blatant. Shen Yun turned around and looked, and felt that there was an unknown figure flashing through the high and low clouds. The speed of the other party was different from this. The edge remains relatively stable. Hey, I told these guys to calm down. I didn't expect that they are still following each other. Don't mind. It's true that the Phoenix clan has not had new cubs for thousands of years. Everyone is very excited. Yi next to him who clearly felt Chen Yun's discomfort. After feeling it, he understood the reason and couldn't help but explain. Understood, understood. Shen Yun nodded, and could only try to ignore these glances. Fortunately, These guys didn't seem to have much interest in him, and their eyes mostly stayed on the little jumper in front of him with his head held high. Nothing happened along the way. When he stood at the center, Shen Yun couldn't tell whether the trip to the secret realm was going smoothly or not. After all, he didn't encounter anything. He arrived at the center of the secret realm. But it doesn't make sense to say that I haven't encountered them at all. After all, the people standing around me are all powerful guys who are not human beings, and it makes me feel powerless to look at them. Shen Yun straightened his back and tried his best to look calm, letting everyone look at the little jumper standing on his shoulder. Everyone, since the young master has returned, how about we work together to open the seal of Central City? Yu Hu looked around and said. Big Tiger, are you really sure this is the young master? How come? The doubtful words were said by a huge blue bird next to him. I think you are all familiar with the cry of the Phoenix clan, and the barrier in this place was set up by that adult. Apart from the young master, who else can enter and exit at will? Yu Hu's big head glanced over there. The blue bird said sharply. I just want to confirm, so don't be angry. Since you are the young master, why do we need to do anything? Just let the young master do it, so that we can save the rest of us from clumsily breaking things. King Niao tilted his head. Angzai said kindly. Shen Yun was silently listening to the conversation between the two people, animals, and glanced at the many other silent animals next to him calmly. In the end, he didn't see anything. After all, his face was either feathered or furry, so he wanted to see it. Unless Shen Yun is more powerful. She didn't dare to look too much, they were all guys better than herself. However, listening to the conversation between these two, I know that not all spirit beasts and monsters are convinced by Xiao Banqi, and there are also those who do not welcome Xiao Banqi back. Xiao Banqi's current appearance does make people look a bit contemptuous. This scene is obviously not something that an outsider like himself can interrupt, but Shen Yun is planning in his heart. If they don't welcome Xiao Banqi, then he can just leave here with Xiao Banqi's basic necessities. Blue Bird, what do you mean? The young master is still in his juvenile form. Don't you know his current situation? Are your Bluebird clan preparing to rebel? Don't think that the adult can't do anything to you if you leave that realm. When Yu Hu heard King Niao's words, he became furious and scolded him. Oh, Big Tiger, Bluebird is just saying, don't be angry, don't we also want the younger generations to see the young master's style? After all, it has been thousands of years, and the next generation has not seen it. They just listen to us. What these old guys said, King Niao didn't think so much, and did bad things out of good intentions. When a bird-like figure next to him heard what Yu Hu said, he quickly came out to talk to Zinni. Okay, let's just say whether we can cooperate or not, Yu Hu asked, shaking his head and looking around. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 247. Chapter 247, Inheritance. The entire Phoenix territory has not had a master for thousands of years. Each ethnic group has become accustomed to a life of self-leadership. Although the young master was sent out to seek opportunities for hatching, most of the spirit beasts did not hold out much hope. When I suddenly received this news today, everyone was confused. Now I came over and saw the little chick standing on Shen Yun's shoulder. I couldn't help but feel a little contempt in my heart. After all, the previous master of Fenjia was a powerful female phoenix. Now looking at the young master like this, everyone is even more, a lot of disappointment, a little bit of happiness. Okay, I see that you are not willing to do so. If this is the case, then our Yuhu clan will handle this matter ourselves. But when the young master grows up in the future, which adult will come back? How will you explain to which adult? This is not something I can control. I believe everyone has not forgotten what the adult told him before he left. Yuhu looked around, and found that some were hesitant, some didn't look at himself, but they didn't take the initiative to stand up. I just heard the cheers of people on the road and thought that these people's hearts were the same as my own. I didn't expect that thousands of years have passed and the hearts of animals can change easily. Big Tiger, that's not what you said. Who said we couldn't help but agree? It's just that the young master is too weak now and rashly opened Fenjiao. We are afraid that the young master cannot bear the huge impact of spiritual energy. When many birds and beasts heard what the winged tiger said, they immediately started shouting. Although the sound was clear and crisp, it was too noisy to make people's brains hurt. At this time, everyone's attention was focused on Yuhu. Chen Yun and Xiao Banqi, two weak beasts, did not pay much attention. Little Banqi flew forward curiously, and Shen Yun followed it. No one knew anyone in this place. The spirit beasts next to them each had their own little thoughts, so it was safer to stay with Xiao Banqi. There is nothing strange about this place. It is a large empty space with a big stone standing in the middle. You can't tell what it is made of. It is not the sycamore tree that Yuhu mentioned. At this time, Shen Yun and Xiao Banqi had moved from the edge to the big rock in the center of the circle surrounded by everyone. As for other beasts, this discussion will be more exciting. Each race has its own small ideas, and they are all one big family. Shen Yun and the others will no longer have any burden. Xiao Bangqiao stood on the top of the big stone, and Shen Yun stood below and looked up. The stone was about 2 people high. I don't know what it was used for. Anyway, it was placed in this position, which is a bit like what they said. Open position. Little Banqi, why don't you try to open it yourself? Let's gain some energy and don't rely on them. Shen Yun looked at the little Banqi standing on top and directly sent him a message in his mind. Little Bangzi jumped up excitedly when he heard Chen Yun's words. Newborn calves are not afraid of tigers, and little Bangzi didn't hesitate, and directly sprayed a mouthful of Phoenix True Fire on it. As soon as the fire came out, all the sounds nearby disappeared. This Big Tiger, why didn't you tell me earlier that the young master has mastered the true fire of the phoenix? The person next to him murmured as he looked at the bright flames. The young master just came back today. Besides, I don't have any objections to the young master like you. Why do you want to explore the young master's ability? Yuhu said disdainfully. You old guy, how long has this been, and you still say things like this? Now that the young master is on the seal, let's help quickly. This beast immediately changed his attitude when he saw the phoenix true fire. Unexpectedly, before he finished speaking, he saw many spiritual beasts flying up and heading towards the stone. You guys are really adaptable to the wind. The spirit beast also flew forward angrily. Shen Yun was standing on the edge of the stone watching the progress of the little jumper, but he was gently tossed aside by a big tail. When Chen Yun stood firm in the distance, he saw the spirit beasts surrounding the stones and casting spells, and the spiritual energy of the entire Feng territory began to gather here. Shen Yunyi could only take a few steps back to avoid being sucked into the spiritual energy hurricane. There were also many spiritual beasts with low spiritual power standing next to him. Without much effort on the other side, a crisp phoenix cry went straight into the sky, but it was obviously not a jumping cry. Shen Yun tried hard to see clearly what was behind the spiritual mist, but he could only see a blur of shadows, and it was not clear which one they were. Then the sound of the young phoenix chirping came out, and Shen Yun saw a small figure floating slowly in the blur for a few steps. Shen Yun didn't care about anything at this moment and hurriedly took a few steps forward. Don't worry, our young master is accepting the inheritance. Once we successfully pass this level, the center of Fenjia will be open. The people inside also stopped moving and retreated outside. When they saw people squeezing over, Shen Yun immediately said something. Is there any danger? Shen Yun really never thought about this situation. Didn't he just open the central area directly? It was still too reckless. Don't worry, since the young master can already emit Phoenix True Fire, there is not much danger to him at this time. The winged tiger who spoke also came over. There is still danger if there is not much danger. Shen Yun frowned and looked up, then looked at the beast standing next to him. It seemed that he couldn't help this time even if he wanted to. The little Banky floated into the air and stopped there. The spiritual mist also dissipated. Chen Yun could see a ray of light hitting the little Banky's body, but it was motionless. Is it really okay when it looks like this? Who gave him this inheritance? Shen Yun could only ask the Yuhu next to him for the answer. At this moment, she really regretted it. Why did she want to look at Xiaoguang? If there was no if you are so curious, you won't come in. When you get stronger, there won't be so many uncontrollable things in this place. This is something it must go through as a phoenix. If he doesn't experience this, it will be difficult for him to grow up. This inheritance was given to him by his parents, and it is also a test for him, Yuhu said in a deep voice. Anyway. Chen Yun couldn't clearly see the expression on the tiger's face. Little Banky has been passed down in the past. Chen Yun suddenly thought that the content that Xiao Banky shared with him before was indeed from his inherited memory. Hearing what Chen Yun said, Yuhu was silent for a moment, and his voice was much louder. So, the young master's talent is quite good, and he can be passed down directly after he is hatched. This talent seems to be no better than that of his parents. Difference. Having said this, Yuhu looked a little excited. On the other hand, Shen Yun on the other hand couldn't understand their inheritance at all, and no one wanted to explain it to her at this moment. End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 248. Chapter 248, 248, Sharing Inheritance. This inheritance progressed very slowly, and there was no change in time in the entire Fenjiao. Shen Yun could only judge the change in time based on the watch that was still spinning in his hand. There was nothing going on up there for several days. How long will this inheritance take? Shen Yun could only ask the Yuhu who was lying beside him. This depends on the qualifications of the young master. If the qualifications are particularly good, it will only take a few days. But if the qualifications are not so good, it may be much more. It can take dozens of days, months, years, or hundreds of years. Maybe this Yuhu can't give a definite answer. Hearing this answer, Shen Yun was stunned and quickly asked, then the time inside is the same as the time outside? Of course it's the same. Since Fenjiao appears in this world, everything must be controlled by the laws of this world, so time and everything are the same, Yuhu said matter-of-factly. Hearing this, Shen Yun couldn't help but frown, looking at the little Banky who was still motionless above. He could wait for a few days or months, but if he waited for a few years, he didn't know what would happen outside. I'm not worried about anything else, I'm just a little worried about the people in my family. Can we get out of this light curtain? Shen Yun continued to play. Of course not. This light curtain was set up by the five-clawed golden dragon. This is a nest set up for the cubs of the Phoenix tribe. Unless the young master leads us, we can't get out. This is not only to protect the young master, but also to prevent us from doing so. The old monster went out and caused cholera in the world outside, Yuhu said to Shen Yun without noticing anything. Shen Yun looked at the spiritual beasts in this circle. Indeed, if any one of them went out, it would be easy to destroy a country. How could the light curtain fade in the previous life? Then if Xiao Banky doesn't come back, how will you go out to find him in the future? Shen Yun asked tentatively. If this situation really happens, then when the conditions outside are suitable, the light curtain will slowly fade, so that our juniors with low cultivation level can go out to find people, Yuhu explained carefully. Shen Yun now understood the reason why the light curtain faded in his previous life. It was probably because Xiao Banky did not come back, and the outside world also entered the era of spiritual energy recovery, so the opportunity mentioned by the other party has arrived. and the reason why the light curtain appeared earlier in this life may be because Xiao Banqi's strength has improved a little. In order not to miss the best inheritance date, the light curtain appeared. Chen Yun was thinking in his mind, looking at the little Banqi who was still motionless above. He originally thought that this was a helpless little phoenix, but he didn't know that not only did he have a huge tribe, but he also had everything taken care of for him. My parents must have gotten a big deal. They signed the contract directly when Xiao Bangji was young. It's useless to be anxious in this place now. Shen Yun could only look at the winged tiger next to him. Can you tell me about little Jumper's parents? There's nothing that can't be said about this. The young master's mother is a female phoenix, and his father is a five-clawed golden dragon. The female phoenix died during the catastrophe. In order to protect the young master, the five-clawed golden dragon directly set up this barrier and we were sent into this world. We have been guarding this egg for thousands of years, and we have never been sure whether it can hatch. However, there was some movement in the central area some time ago, so we thought of sending the young master out to try our luck. Yuhu didn't hide anything, and told Shen Yun everything straightforwardly. However, this Yuhu was not good at telling stories, and Shen Yun could only know these dry information. How are you sure that giving it away is good for it? What if someone boils the egg and eats it directly? Shen Yun asked. At our level, some things are sensed in the dark. Besides, our young master is a phoenix, not an ordinary bird egg. It is impossible to boil it, Yuhu said and looked at he glanced at Shen Yun, as if saying what nonsense Shen Yun was talking about. Okay, don't ask anyway, asking is just induction. Shen Yun let out a long sigh. He really wanted to ask these people if they knew when Xiao Banqi would accept the news of the inheritance, but he saw that everyone around him stopped arguing. Lying down lazily, as if he was not anxious about this matter at all, Shen Yun could only suppress the anxiety in his heart. Slowly calming down, she sat here and started practicing directly. It wasn't that she didn't take precautions, but it was really useless to be on guard now. Big Tiger, this is the first time I've seen such a human being. I remember thousands of years ago, people were extremely scared when they saw us, but now they are no longer afraid of us. Sure enough, people's courage has become bigger after changing the world. The beast next to him was surprised when he saw Chen Yun start practicing directly, and gossiped with the Yuhu next to him. We old monsters are all here, do you think it's useful to be afraid? This is what humans say to be aware of the current situation. Yuhu rolled his eyes at the old turtle next to him, and continued to stare at the little jumping turtle above. Indeed, old turtle murmured. The spirit beasts next to them don't care about the lawsuit here. They are now thinking about whether the young master will take it to heart about the quarrel just now, and whether they will cause trouble for them when the inheritance is completed, especially some birds, which are naturally suppressed by the phoenix. Strength cannot be underestimated for them. Shen Yun didn't know about these lawsuits outside. After entering the cultivation state, he felt full of spiritual energy rushing towards him quickly. The concentration of spiritual energy here is even better than that in his own space. Shen Yun originally planned to practice for a while, but he didn't know that he felt so much spiritual energy that he directly entered a state of trance. But then the whole person entered a mysterious state. Before Shen Yun could react, he entered another space, and a large amount of information poured into his mind. Then he was like watching a movie. The information was as his mind unfolded. Shen Yun had no time to think about anything else. Just look at these contents. Outside, Chen Yun's body slowly floated up, and his whole body gradually became even with the little one. When the beasts next to him saw this, they immediately put away their laziness and stood up to look at the floating body in the air. Chen Yun. Big Tiger, what's going on? The beasts began to discuss. This is inheritance sharing. Our young master took the initiative to share his inheritance with this human being, and the old master agreed before Yuhu said anything. The knowledgeable old turtle next to him spoke up. How could a human get the inheritance of Phoenix's dragon? What kind of ecstasy did this human pour into the young master? Everyone knows that these inheritances are not simple things. They have been guarding them for so many years and got nothing. Now they have been given by if mankind is gone, no one will be convinced. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 249. Chapter 249, 249, Inheritance completed. Just because the other party hatched the young master, she deserves this credit, not to mention that the other party has already signed a contract with the young master, Yuhu said with disdain as he looked at the greedy looks of the people next to him. That's not what you said. You are the young master who has been under our care for thousands of years. Someone next to him was unconvinced. The young master asked us to serve him, eat and drink, and let us protect him. We couldn't even handle the hatching, so he successfully hatched the young master by sending him out. It's not too late for people to start coming here to grab the credit. After Yuhu said this, he continued to cast his gaze on Xiao Banqi and Shen Yun. But Shen Yun, who was in mid-air, was not as relaxed as she had shown. At this moment, she finally understood how Xiao Banqi felt. No wonder Yuhu would say that the time when he wakes up depends on his qualifications. If his qualifications are slightly inferior, so many the information entered her mind directly and she fell asleep immediately. Whether she could wake up or not was a matter of time. Although Shen Yun's spiritual consciousness had reached the nascent soul stage, she still felt a severe headache and was feeling drowsy. Sleeping, the consciousness is overloaded. This time he felt more uncomfortable than any time when his consciousness was injured before. Shen Yun struggled to separate a ray of consciousness to keep himself clear, and then he was overwhelmed by the sea of information. This is different from looking at the jade slips in the space. That was actively accepting knowledge, but now it is passively accepting the content. He was so groggy that he didn't know how much time had passed before Shen Yun felt that his consciousness was gradually becoming clearer. The content in his mind has been carefully reviewed. As for the situation of Xiao Bengji's parents, it is also very clear. This light screen inheritance content is also included in it, and there is a huge amount of knowledge. Shen Yun has obtained the memory of a long-lived race. Inheritance has a lot of content, as you can imagine. Shen Yun felt it carefully and felt that his spiritual consciousness had been strengthened a lot. Sure enough, after extreme use, his spiritual consciousness had been tempered. Before I had time to look at the situation of the little Banqi next to me, I heard a crisp chirp. When I turned around, I saw that the little Banqi had woken up and was jumping on his shoulder. Although the little Banqi who had been passed down was still looking at it, it's the same as before, but it feels calm and enlightened. Congratulations, young master, for completing the inheritance. Next, young master, please open the central area and accept bloodline activation. The spirit beasts below also noticed the situation of the two people above. The beasts in the assembly spoke together, and the rumbling sound echoed in the world. It left a deafening echo. Upon hearing this, the little Banqi looked up to the sky and screamed, spread out its immature wings and flew up. Shen Yun saw that Xiao Banqi directly drew a drop of blood essence from his body according to the method recorded in the inheritance. In an instant, the entire phoenix territory glowed with red light, and the faint sound of phoenixes came from all directions with a hint of surprise. Chen Yun knew that these sounds were the obsessions left by the elders of the Phoenix clan, so he was not surprised at all. He watched the little jumper's movements carefully, praying that it would succeed at once, otherwise he would have to waste blood and essence later. You must know that phoenix essence and blood are very precious. A baby bird as big as little Banqi probably only has a few drops. If you don't open it this time, this drop of blood essence will be wasted, and it will also have an impact on Xiaobanqi's cultivation. Xiaobanqi did not live up to her expectations for him. A drop of blood successfully opened the door to the central area of Fenjiao. The front of him began to tear open out of thin air. The first thing that struck Chen Yun's eyes was the endless green. The sycamore tree. It turns out that this is the sycamore tree where the phoenix lives. It is hundreds and thousands of times bigger than what you see outside. This is no ordinary sycamore tree, but the place where the mother of Little Jumper, who has lived for hundreds of thousands of years, used to live. There was something like this in Beng Qiao's memory, and he plunged directly into the nest above the sycamore tree. Shen Yun looked at the situation and walked directly in. Did that human just go in? How can this be done? Our young master is going to purify his blood. This human wants to get a share of the pie when he goes in, right? Greedy human. The beasts below were still sighing at Xiaobanqi's talent. Then, when he saw Shen Yun following him in, he said angrily, "What's the use of complaining now? Your strength is here. If you had just taken action to fish the person out, this wouldn't have happened." The beast next to him said disdainfully, "Do I dare to take action? This central domain is the young master's territory. Without the young master's permission, if I take action rashly and be mistaken for a threat to the young master, then I will be unlucky. Who would have thought that this human being can be so easily? Isn't there a restriction on entering this place? What's going on with this human being? Why don't we try to get in?" The beast defended himself and finally expressed his thoughts. "Little sparrow, if you want to go by yourself, don't drag us. The blood purification of the Phoenix clan has nothing to do with us. If you want to go in and take advantage, then you try. Sparrow still wants to become a phoenix. I've been thinking about it for a long time." The bluebird next to him heard the little bird on the side saying this, glanced at that side with disdain, turned and walked away. "Stinky bluebird, you are the only one who is not a bird. We are a little bit ambitious at least. It's better for you. Don't think that everyone doesn't know that you regarded yourself as the king of birds before the young master came back. Now that the young master is back, you don't know. You're in your place. Look at your face. You call it a fairy bird, isn't it very ugly?" The little sparrow is not a coward, she is afraid of the phoenix, and she really doesn't care about other birds. In the eyes, after all, among all the birds, sparrows are the second in number, and no one dares to be the first. Although the cultivation qualifications are not as good as these guys, who makes these guys infertile? Little sparrow, you are looking for death. When the bluebird heard the sparrow say this, he immediately turned back and looked at her fiercely. "Just fight, whoever is afraid of whom." The little sparrow is also not afraid of trouble. "Brothers, the bluebird wants to compete with us, everyone, come on." With a greeting, a black mass flew directly from everywhere, and the group of spiritual beasts, 3 or 4 bluebirds inside, also took off directly into the air. The battle started directly outside the central area. "Big Tiger, don't you care about this matter?" Old Turtle saw the situation and asked slowly. "No matter what, it's just a small fight. There are a lot of sparrows anyway. If we don't clean them up, there will be no place to live. It's not like you don't know their clan. They will have to pick something after a while. Anyway, they have killed a few. Race, I haven't seen them disappear in Fenjiao. Yuhu doesn't want to care about irrelevant things. They don't care about their animals. He has more important things to focus on now. As for fighting, things, anyway, are idle, and there really are no recreational activities if I don't go home. Hand out something to the family later, it will just be a gift for the young master." End of this chapter. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 250. Chapter 250, 250, My father invites you. Chen Yun and the others didn't know that it was already bustling outside. This time they passed through the crack and directly arrived at a large space. A huge sycamore tree stretched for thousands of miles, with lush branches and branches that seemed to reach the sky. Went. Then there is a bamboo forest with no end in sight, and a spring water flows to the up amp. Turning to the other side, he could still see a lot of treasures piled up. Shen Yun looked over and squinted his eyes unconsciously. There were too many treasures and it was dazzling. The whole place looks so fairy-like that it's not an exaggeration to say it's a fairyland. The little Banky was originally heading towards the sycamore tree, but ended up going straight into the bamboo forest without looking at the others. It drank from the spiritual spring in Shen Yun's space and lived in a nest built with spiritual stones. The only thing it could do was eat. It can occasionally eat a few lotus pods. It can be said that because of being a picky eater, it has basically never eaten enough since birth. Now that it sees the edible things in the inheritance, it doesn't care about other things and just goes in. After Chen Yun wandered around inside, he stopped directly under the sycamore tree. Although he also received the inheritance, the things in this place were obviously prepared for him by Xiaobengji's parents. Even if he signed a contract with him, this things inside cannot be moved casually. She can only wait here. Soon, the little Banky came over with a full stomach. With a chubby belly, she wanted to pretend to be calm, but Chen Yun couldn't help but smile when she saw this image. Don't laugh, the little bouncing voice was a little annoyed. After passing the inheritance, it already knew that it was an amazing divine bird. It wanted to maintain a certain image in front of Shen Yun, but it didn't work out. Shen Yun reacted quickly. As soon as Xiao Bengqiye said, she immediately returned to her serious look. Okay, don't laugh, don't laugh. Xiao Bengtao took a look at Shen Yun's expression and saw that he was indeed not smiling. Then he breathed a sigh of relief and said, don't worry, I will continue to take care of you in the future. We are all our own people. You just have to pay attention to my face. After all, I am a mythical beast, Xiao Banqi said arrogantly. Looking at Xiao Banqi's arrogant look, Chen Yun struggled to hold back his laughter and coughed lightly. Why don't you go see the blood purification first? Well, let's go. The voice fell, and the little jumper flew directly from the tree to Chen Yun's shoulder. Little Banqi, you are awesome again today. Why have you talked so much? Shen Yun did not forget to praise his arrogant child on the way. That's right, I have the inheritance from my father and mother. The divine bird phoenix is omnipotent, Xiao Bengchuo said with his neck raised. In the blink of an eye, he didn't know if he thought that the female phoenix was dead, and the golden dragon didn't know what was happening in that world. Things happened, and I felt depressed again, and fell silent on Shen Yun's shoulder. Shen Yun also thought about this and said nothing. He gently touched the little jumping dog and continued to move forward with it. The place where the blood is purified is not in the phoenix nest on the plane tree, but in a bamboo building below. This bamboo building is not a mortal thing. From a distance, you can feel a special charm surrounding it. Shen Yun approached the bamboo building and did not rush in. Next, Xiao Bengqiao had to leave on his own, and he could not accompany him. He directly held the little jumping ball and placed it at the door of the bamboo building. Go in, I'll wait at the door. Our spiritual energy is so weak outside that we hatched it. We will be able to pass easily this time. Do you want to accompany me? Xiao Bengqiye raised his head and looked at Shen Yun. It is said in the inheritance that you can only do this by yourself. Your parents will not harm you. Go in quickly. After this experience, you will be able to walk around outside in the future, Shen Yun comforted with a smile. Okay, then remember to wait for me here. When I finish it, I will take you out of the light curtain to continue playing, Xiao Bengqi said reluctantly. Okay, Shen Yun nodded. Xiao Bengji walked into the bamboo building with 1 step and 3 turns. Shen Yun looked at the closed door and directly found a place not far away to stare at the bamboo building. At this time, Time is often the least valuable. 3 days have passed in the blink of an eye. Shen Yun can no longer sit there and wait as calmly as he did at the beginning. He has already walked around the small bamboo building more than 10 times. It's a pity that the door of the bamboo building cannot be opened since Xiao Bengj entered. No sound can be heard inside. Shen Yun is the only one outside. She can only rely on the inheritance contents in her mind to comfort herself. Xiao Bengj must be fine. It is a phoenix. Even if it needs blood purification, it does not need to go to war. There must be other things delaying it. Creak. The door of the bamboo house, which had been closed for 3 days, finally opened. Shen Yun hurriedly began to look for the little figure. Then she froze, rubbed her eyes in disbelief, and looked at the door again. A little bean curd was standing holding onto the doorframe. She had fair skin, big eyes, brownish red hair, a chubby little face, and was dressed in bright yellow clothes. Shen Yun was so cute that her heart trembled. The reaction came immediately. The door was opened. Where is the little Benki? After using the contract to sense it, I realized that the child in front of me was actually the responder of the contract. Little Benki, Shen Yun asked tentatively. The child opposite stretched out his little hand and said, "Come and give me a hug." Why is it so hard to walk? Sure enough, a childish voice came out of the child's mouth. Why are you like this? Shen Yun hurried over to help him, and then the little fat boy jumped directly into his arms. It's not caused by blood purification. My cultivation level has been raised directly, so I will transform directly, Xiao Bengchuo said unhappily, pouting his mouth. Shen Yun felt it and found that it was really powerful. In the past few days, his cultivation level has reached the level of Jindan, which is even better than his own. It's good, Shen Yun quickly comforted him. There's nothing we can do about it. I can't change back now. My dad asked you to go into. Xiao Benki looked like he really disliked his current image. He muttered, not forgetting to explain to Shen Yun. Want me to come in, your father? Yes, my father left a trace of his spiritual consciousness. He knew you were outside and asked you to come in. Let's go. Shen Yun thought a lot at this moment. The dragon father wouldn't blame himself for making a contract with the little Benki. He should have made the contract when it was young and didn't know anything. Shen Yun had forgotten that the contract was made by Xiao Benki herself. Now she was trying to organize the language in her mind, how to explain to the other party that she abducted Xiao Benki. The inside of the bamboo building was much larger than it looked from the outside, and the layout was very delicate. However, Shen Yun was not in the mood to take a closer look at the moment. She followed the little jumper's guidance and continued walking towards her destination. Not long after walking, I saw a statue of a 5-clawed golden dragon, and I arrived at my destination. End of this chapter.